Ever since the inception of the franchise, LEGO Ninjago's one go-to, old reliable plot point has always been the fetch quest. X amount of magical doodads are scattered across the world, and the heroes and villains must race each other to collect them all to either cause a catastrophe or prevent it. From the golden weapons, to the fang blades, to the Oni mask, Ninjago has pulled this trope a lot and is going to continue to until the very day it dies. Which is entirely fair, it's a really easy way to drive the plot forward. We get a bunch of really cool collectible designs and concepts out of it, and it's a great way to drive sales of the sets. The most recent in this long line of Ninjago fetch quest plots is the plotline from Dragon's Rising Season 3, where the ninja must prevent the Forbidden Five from obtaining all 5 Prismatic Blades, which the Forbidden Five hope to use to break the chains holding down their master Thunderfang. All of this sounds good on paper to me, another classic Ninjago fetch quest. Right? Here's the issue. This plotline is stupid, man. All of it, start to finish. Okay, so the Prismatic Blades are swords forged with prismatic steel, and then after that were infused with soul energy. This whole season places a pretty big emphasis on Thunderfang stealing people's souls to power himself up. He absorbed all of the Oni souls in the season's backstory, he eats Moro and the Soul Suckers at the end of part 1, and with that big emphasis in mind, it's hard not to look at the Prismatic Blades and wonder whose soul energy is in these things.
Its kind of power should not be in your hands.
It would have to be someone pretty powerful to be able to do all of the stuff these things do in the season, right? Well, it's never explained. So, 5 super powerful blades, fueled with the souls of who knows who, have been scattered through various locations across the merged realms. I wonder what interesting and creative placements they have for these blades. Let's go over them all. The first of the 5 prismatic blades, the blue one, is found within Dorama's puppet. This thing was previously a technological creature controlled by Dorama, but ever since Dorama was arrested and his puppet was left in the desert, it somehow managed to get a prismatic blade lodged up its head. And because of that, it's now running around rogue on its own, operated by the magic of the prismatic blade. How did a prismatic blade manage to get inside of this thing's head? I don't know, it just did. It would be one thing if this prismatic blade was implied to have always been in the puppet's head throughout all of its encounters across the show. Something Dorama put there to power his puppet. That would make total sense and be a satisfying payoff. But the show very explicitly implies that the prismatic blade went into the thing's head after Dorama's defeat, and then doesn't go into any detail at all about how that actually happened. Also, having a prismatic blade in his head gives the puppet laser eyes for some reason. Even though, correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't recall the swords ever being able to shoot projectiles, but okay. This could have been a really satisfying little bit of connective tissue between all 3 of the Dragon's Rising seasons, but instead just feels pretty poorly thought out and leaves more questions than answers, which is going to become a theme as we talk about more of these prismatic blade locations. Next up is the red prismatic blade, which was discovered by Rapton and the freebooters at some point and then loaded onto one of his trains. Zane runs into the freebooters hauling this and Pixel by sheer coincidence, and with that being said, funnily enough, I think this is the most sensical of the prismatic blade placements. The one that literally just shows up randomly is the one I have the least questions about. The third of our prismatic blades is the green one, which Season 3 reveals was linked to the giant crab incident in Season 1. In case you forgot, in Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, there's an episode where we follow Lloyd and Aaron as they try to protect the village from the attacks of a giant crab monster. Later in this episode, Aaron realizes that this crab is so powerful because of a magic tooth that's been lodged into its mouth. Lloyd and Aaron get the tooth out of its mouth, the crab is depowered and returns to normal crab size, and the ninja are left scratching their heads wondering who put that thing in there.
Someone put that thing in its mouth to give it power. But who would do something like that?
Well, Dragon's Rising Season 3 gives us our answer by revealing that a prismatic blade was inside of the tooth the whole time. Which, I mean, yeah, the crab shoots lasers, which look extremely similar to the lasers the puppet shoots in Season 3. I guess shooting lasers is only for people with a blade stuck in them. So that's a consistent little thread, which is nice, but like, why did a blade full of soul energy make the crab really big? How did this tiny crab even manage to get this sword-sized tooth stuck in its mouth? Did someone put the tooth inside of its mouth? Who? Who put the sword inside of the tooth? It can't have just shown up in there on its own. This is yet another prismatic blade placement that sounds extremely cool on paper, and could have been good with just a bit more background information surrounding it, but as it stands, just feels kind of awkward and leaves more questions than answers, which isn't really the result you want when you're trying to pay off a mystery you previously set up. The vibe I get with a lot of these prismatic blades being shoved into places we've already seen in Dragon's Rising before is that the writers really wanted to establish a sense of continuity and kind of make viewers know that everything matters, which is a great one to have and a clear benefit to Dragon's Rising's massive emphasis on serialization. It really is just a matter of being completely let down by a lack of information though. So many of these moments, which should have been really satisfying eureka payoff moments, just kinda left me scratching my head wondering what's going on. And that is even more apparent with our next blade, the yellow prismatic blade. Okay, so do you remember that sword in season 2 of Dragon's Rising? You know the one, the whole episode was named after it. The shattering sword that Beatrix used to knock Lloyd unconscious. That sword, that thing there, that's a prismatic blade jacked up on soul energy, by the way.
What? What are you talking about?
Even though it had literally no apparent powers within season 2 and instantly smashed the second it was used as an actual weapon, this here was a prismatic blade all along. This is an extremely flimsy reveal, man. First of all, why does it look like this? All of the prismatic blades, excluding one of them being ever so slightly shorter than the rest, have incredibly uniform designs. They all look basically indistinguishable from each other. And yet this one has some weird gem on the front, the blade itself is built totally differently, the coloration is completely different, it doesn't even look like it's made of prismatic steel. Like, this thing is not a prismatic blade, man. It looks nothing like the other four. But the plot thickens with this. After Rox takes this blade to Aracor and uses his wish magic to repair the sword, it transforms into looking like the other four. What the hell is going on? Rox wished for Aracor to repair the sword, not transform it into a completely different one. This is so confusing, man. Why is this one prismatic blade like this? And also, how did this thing shatter in season 2, dude? The characters in show even draw attention to how weird it is that this one blade shattered, whilst the others are seemingly completely indestructible. But then no actual answer for this question is given beyond somehow Palpatine returned tier speculation from the characters.
Maybe the blade breaking at the tournament was some special situation? Maybe magical.
I'm hoping this is a question that's eventually going to be answered in part 2 or a future installment of Dragon's Rising. But like, from this to the whole design of the sword being completely changed through some literal magic hogwash, this prismatic blade, even more than the others, just feels like a massive ass pull. But hey, it can't get any worse than this, right? Say, where is that last prismatic blade anyways? In episode 3, the purple prismatic blade of return is pulled out from Raz's behind. That's genuinely it. I'm not exaggerating that at all, man. A literal ass pull. For that entire final battle in season 2, Raz had this thing lodged up his behind. Yeah, Raz has been holding on to one of the prismatic blades this whole time, and just never once used it. There's even been perfect opportunities in the past, like at the start of season 2 for him to use this blade where he's just opted to use a totally normal one instead. It's almost like all of this was pulled from nowhere with no planning ahead of time. As mentioned before, I do think what they were trying to do with the locations of these blades, connecting them to familiar locations and characters from the past 2 seasons, on paper was a really fantastic idea. It's just that I kind of get the impression that none of these locations are planned ahead of time. Excluding the one they find in Rapton's train, they all feel extremely out of nowhere. I don't get the impression that the crab episode was written with the intent to have a prismatic blade be involved. I don't get the impression that season 2 was written with the shattering sword being a prismatic blade in mind. These types of connective tissue moments work best when you get the sense that all of this was planned, or at least all slots together in a natural and logical way. And whilst I obviously can't speak to the writing process behind this story arc because I am not one of the Ninjago writers, I just don't get that impression with this Prismatic Blades plotline. All of this feels like it was introduced extremely out of nowhere. A great idea on paper with some kinda wonky execution.